Welcome into Bleacher Report as we are here to discuss how the San Francisco 49ers can either get to the 1 or 2 seed in the playoffs. Obviously, the 49ers are feeling good with 2 wins in a row after being able to get out of that 0-3 skid that they had heading into the bye. So the 49ers seemingly have put that behind them and are back on track to their winning ways. And the key right now that we are going to be focusing on is how the San Francisco 49ers continue to improve their seeding and potentially get that first round bye that they so desperately want. It's the 49ers are on record, whether it's head coach, Kyle Shanahan, players, everyone inside that locker room has openly spoken about the need to push for that number 1 seed in the NFC playoffs. And why? Home field advantage. I can speak to that personally. I was at the NFC Championship game last year in Philly when the 49ers and Eagles faced off. And I can tell you 100%, we all know the story. Brock Purdy goes down, but boy, did that home field advantage play a big, big role. And I'll explain how it did in that particular game. It started on the very first drive. You remember it. Hurts throws that bomb on 4th down to Devonta Smith. He comes up, makes it a phenomenal catch, or so it seems, and they rush up to the ball. Stadium ops didn't replay it. So Kyle didn't they didn't see anything and have enough time to react and throw the challenge flag. I can guarantee you, for the amount of games I've been to at Levi's Stadium, Stadium Ops would have threw up that replay right away and would have given Kyle Shanahan enough time to be able to call a challenge flag. Again, that's just one instance. Obviously, crowd noise, everything. So the 49ers have to do whatever they can to get closer and closer to the Eagles. And so that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today on our show here on the Bleacher Report app, is how the San Francisco 49ers can obtain the 1 or 2 seed. First of all, it starts in division, and it starts tomorrow on Thanksgiving because the San Francisco 49ers head up north to go play the Seattle Seahawks, our friendly foes, not so friendly, our foes in the NFC West. Obviously, the very first thing that the 49ers have to take care of is their division. They have to be number 1 in the division. And shout out to the SDS. We see you guys dropping into the chat. But as you see, 49er Nation, can't wait for this game. Neither can the San Francisco 49ers because they have an opportunity to grow their lead in the division and take care of it. That is rule number 1. Win the West. That's the first step in this, basically the journey to trying to get the 1 or 2 seed. You got to win your division, and it starts there. That's our guaranteed ticket to the playoffs. So it starts tomorrow, right, on Thanksgiving in a huge primetime game. The entire world will be watching Brock Purdy head up north and see if he can repeat what he did last year. Now, last year, we remember the 49ers clinched the division in Seattle's home territory, but that isn't going to be the case just yet because this is going to be the first time that these teams square off this season. So there'll be one more shot at it. So it's a big one. And we know the Seattle Seahawks limping into this game a little bit in regards to Kenneth Walker, who was officially listed as doubtful today. So there's a good chance who I would deem as one of their best players on their entire team. Running back Kenneth Walker doesn't appear like he will be playing, but we did hear that even though Geno Smith is questionable, he is expected to be quarterbacking for this team against the 49ers. So it's still going to be a challenge. just like I see in the comments, 1 week at a time. Honestly, if I was trying to take on the mentality of a player or a coach, that's exactly what I would say. It's 1 week at a time, and it starts with Seattle. This is a huge matchup, regardless of the perception of where Seattle currently sits. This is still going to be a challenging game. Both teams on short weeks. Obviously, the 49ers have been playing really good ball the last 2 weeks, but that doesn't change anything. This is a divisional matchup, and we know what those divisional matchups look like. And literally, we saw it earlier this year with the Rams when we thought it was going to be a blowout, and it ended up being a lot closer game than we anticipated. So it all starts tomorrow, right? Got it. And that's our segue into taking care of the division, because not only that, we have Seattle Seahawks twice this in 3 weeks. We have Seattle twice, then we have the Cardinals, and then we finish the year at the Ram with a game versus the Rams. So got to take care of division first. But if we get beyond the division and look more kind of in our front view mirror, I guess, if you could say, is the 49ers got to take care of the bird gauntlet. What's the bird gauntlet, you might ask? It's this stretch of schedule that the 49ers have in front of them. The next 5 games, all against bird teams. The Seahawks, then it's the Eagles, Seahawks again, Cardinals, and probably outside of the Eagles game, one of the most challenging games on the schedule, the Ravens on Christmas. And that makes up the bird gauntlet. So the San Francisco 49ers got to take care of business on this road to the number 1 seed in the NFC playoffs. Right now, obviously, you guys saw the matchup against Eagles, Chiefs. What a wild game that was. But Jalen Hurts figured out a way to get it done and beat the Chiefs at the end, moving them to 9-1. And of course, first in the NFC. Right now, the Eagles have the number 1 seed locked up. Now, the 49ers are 2 games back, right? And they're 1 game back of the Lions. So they're sitting in that 3 hole with their 7-3 record, with their win over the Cowboys earlier in the season, who are also sitting at 7-3. Right now, the 49ers are sitting in a good spot where we could potentially go and take that number 1 seed from the Eagles. And that's why these next 3 weeks are insanely important. Starts tomorrow with Seattle. Then we go on a mini bye, and then it's Eagles week 13 in Philly, a game that has been highly touted, highly discussed, highly anticipated since the San Francisco 49ers fell in the NFC Championship game. And obviously, we know about all the off-season talk between 49ers players, Eagles players, 49ers fans, Eagles fans. It was a conversation that dominated the offseason after the NFC Championship game. Now, I do have to take some responsibility for that, because when I had Brandon Ayuk on my channel on YouTube, that is where we had gotten talking about Chiefs versus Eagles in the Super Bowl. And those are the sound bites that then were repeated to Eagles fans during Super Bowl week. And that's where the whole thing started spinning. So I do have to take some responsibility in stirring up some of this Eagles 49ers rivalry, but it is going to be the matchup. I'm going to say it's about as anticipated as Eagles Chiefs was earlier this week, right? So It's not going to get that same primetime love that Eagles Chiefs got. But man, if you're in the Eagles fan base and if you're in the 49ers fan base, this was the game that you circled right away when you saw the schedule. So this is a huge matchup after Seattle. So this is where it really, really matters. The San Francisco 49ers have to beat the Eagles. If they want to obtain first, second seeding in the playoffs, there's no question about it. They have to beat the Eagles. They have to get that record knocked down. So if the 49ers can move to 8-3 and then 9-3 and potentially have the Eagles around 11-2 or 10-2, that puts the 49ers in a earshot of getting the number 1 seed. So that's really what it comes down to right now is the two main things: winning your division, and it starts tomorrow against the Seattle Seahawks, and then beating the Eagles. And then obviously maintaining record, right? Because we are already 2 games back. We have an opportunity to do a bit more damage by, one, giving the Eagles a loss and then dropping their record as a result, and having a potential head-to-head tiebreaker ability to jump them if it comes down to that. So the third thing, they got to win out. Like, honestly, to give the 49ers the best shot, and I'm not thinking 2 seed, because to me, 2 or 3 kind of interchangeable. I got my eyes set on the 1 seed because they want home field advantage and the first round bye. That is what's at stake. And that's what's so important about the San Francisco 49ers beating Seattle, beating the Eagles, and then going on a run to finish the year. They have a chance. That's the best part about all of this, is that the San Francisco 49ers, although the Eagles are finding ways to get wins and continuing to improve their record, if they can take down the Eagles at their home field, that is going to put the 49ers on a trajectory to be able to control their own destiny in getting the number 1 seed. And I think that is the only thing that they need to be worrying about outside of a week to week type mentality, right? We know the 49ers, they're locked in. They're thinking week to week, but they got their eye on that 1 seed. Beat Seattle, beat the Eagles, and if they can win out and beat Seattle again, beat the Cardinals week 15, insanely tough matchup against the Ravens week 16, take down the Commanders at their home field, and then beat the Rams, if they can somehow find a way to win out and only have 3 losses and also hand the Eagles a loss, that is their path forward to getting the number 1 seed. And then you just got to let the football gods do their thing. And hopefully the Eagles fall a game or 2 throughout that span, and then you jump them. And of course, same thing goes for the Lions. You can't forget about the Lions. I know I've spent a lot of time focusing on the Eagles, but Jared Goff has got that Lions team in a great spot. They've got a ton of weapons. They got Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jahmyr Gibbs looks like a future guy that is going to put the league on notice from the running back position. Laporta looks phenomenal as a rookie tight end. They got one of the best offensive lines in football. Donovan Peoples-Jones, he hasn't even made an impact for them after being traded from the Browns. You don't want to sleep on the Lions. You really don't. You might be able to see behind me over here. I got the Cal logo behind me. Cal's my team, my college team. So that means I've watched all 4 years of Jared Goff throughout college. And so I feel like I have a pretty good feel for Jared Goff. And right now, He's in a perfect system that really plays to his strengths. And when he can be protected, he is a hard quarterback to stop because he is deadly accurate when he has time to process and identify and throw. So the 49ers, man, it's not a guaranteed shot by any stretch of the imagination. There are a lot of things that need to happen both on the 49ers control and outside of their control. That's what happens when you go on a 3-game losing streak in the middle of the season and your number one goal is to get the number 1 seed. That now takes a bit of the control out of your hands and puts it into the football god's hand where things have to go our way. Teams got to take down other teams and situations have to play out. But I'm curious about you guys in the chat. What do you think? If you had to put a percentage chance on the San Francisco 49ers getting the number 1 seed where they currently sit at number 3 with a 7-3 record, with 8-2 Lions at 2 and 9-1 Eagles at 1, what is your percentage chance that the 49ers will be able to obtain the number 1 seed? Obviously, the scale is 100%. They're going to be able to get it. No doubt in my mind, 0%. It's not going to happen. If you got a percentage, drop it in the chat. I want to see where your confidence level is with the San Francisco 49ers obtaining the 1 seed. Again, we've laid it out. It's a daunting task. However, I do want to hear from you in the chat. And right off the bat, we got Jaden saying 40%. 40% chance that the San Francisco 49ers get the 1 seed. I would actually say that's pretty fair. That's pretty fair. And then Gage right below it says 30%. So much has to go right. 100%. I'm going to match your 30% with 100% with how right you are, with how many other things have to fall in line for the San Francisco 49ers to get that 1 seed. And it will not be easy, but you're saying there's a chance. You're saying there's a chance. There is a chance, though, right? Niner One says if we play like this past game, 90%, if not 70%. Okay, I like that variable. I definitely like that variable that you added to it, because if you got perfect Purdy out here going 21 for 25, 333 yards and 3 touchdowns and a perfect passer rating, that's going to be really hard to beat week in and week out. But we do know there are going to be variables, and although Purdy is playing at a very, very high level, we can't count on him playing that perfect every single week, right? So let's see what else the chat's talking about. I see Justin saying 35%. Jaden then tacks on and says it really comes down to the Philly game. If we win that, we have a really good shot. I'm going to drop a fire emoji on that comment as well, because Jaden is speaking facts. The 2 main things are winning the division and beating the Eagles. And then, of course, you have to put together a favorable record, or else beating the Eagles isn't going to do much of anything if they continue to win out from there. So like we talked about, there's a lot of things that need to happen. I see 50% in the chat. I see 75%, 65%. So you're saying there's a chance, just a little one, just a little chance. We beat Philly and they lose to Dallas. We each have 3 losses and we hold the tiebreaker. Say it louder, Roger. If the 49ers beat Philly and then Philly loses to the Dallas Cowboys, 49ers hold the tiebreaker in that regard if each team finishes with 3 losses. So there's a chance, but a lot of things are going to have to go right for the San Francisco 49ers. But if you believe in miracles, anything can happen on any given Sunday. All we need is a chance, baby. We own the league when we're healthy. Man, I've said this since preseason. I've said this since training camp, said this since the off season. If you ride with me on my channel, you've heard me say it a million times. The only team that's beaten the San Francisco 49ers is the San Francisco 49ers. When they play their brand and style of ball and they are healthy, they are an extremely difficult team to beat. The times that we've seen the 49ers lose against the Browns, Vikings, and Bengals, they have beat themselves more in those games than the other teams have beat them. Yes, the Browns defense was phenomenal against the 49ers. Brock struggled gripping and ripping the ball in that game, but Brock still drove them down to put them in position for the game-winning kick. Still could have won that game. In Minnesota, same thing applies, right? If defense could get off the field on third down, the 49ers would have had a much better shot at winning that game. And then Brock Purdy seemingly gets concussed. And then the last 6 pass attempts he has, he throws 2 interceptions. Just unfortunate turnovers. And then the same thing occurred to the Bengals. They had a shot, and it was the turnovers at the end that did them in. But when you see good decision making, good defense, and good special teams all playing complementary football, you get blowout wins versus the Jags. You get pretty darn confident wins over the Tampa Bay Bucks. So the 49ers definitely have a shot. Ezra says, shout out, please. I got you, Ezra. Shout out, Ezra, for tapping in to Bleacher Report and vibing with the stream. Appreciate everyone who tapped in today and all that good stuff. Let's see what else the chat is talking about. In my opinion, we really need to win out for it to even be feasible. That's part of the equation. 3 main pillars: beating the Eagles, winning the division, winning out. Those are the 3 main pillars that the San Francisco 49ers need to obtain. It's like the Infinity Stones that they need to obtain. Sweeping Seattle, there's Infinity Stone number 1. Going back to Philly and beating them in, some may say, a revenge game. Maybe. I don't know. I know the 49ers have been waiting for this one. But you go and beat Philly at home when right now Philly is considered probably, no, they're not probably, they are considered the best team in the NFL right now. You go beat the best team in the NFL at their hometown. That's another Infinity Stone. And then you win out, including beating the Ravens. There's your final Infinity Stone that gets you the number 1 seed in the NFC and obtains a first round bye. And you skip, don't even have to show up to wild card week. You waltz into the divisional at home, and that's where the 49ers ultimately want to be. So it's a tough task, but just like the Dumb and Dumber quote, so you're saying there's a chance. That's all you need sometimes. All you need is a chance and a little bit of belief and a little bit of magic. Things will sometimes fall your way. So we'll see what happens. For sure. Adrian says, bummer that Huff is out for the rest of the year. 100%. Huge bummer with Huff going down with the ACL, headed to IR, ending his season. But the positive and the optimism that you can take out of this is the 49ers have a very young, unproven, but very talented safety coming in Jer Brown, the 3rd rounder out of Penn State. The 49ers believe so much in this kid that they traded up to get him to make sure they didn't lose out on him. And they got Jer Brown. And there's a lot of belief inside that building in Jer Brown. You listen to the players, you listen to the evaluation process from John Lynch, everything that went into their process of evaluating the talent on the field, evaluating the kid. Jer Brown, one of my biggest evaluations and takeaways from Jer Brown is the maturity level that he brings to the table. He seems like a guy that is ready to perform in the NFL, even as a rookie. He seems like a guy who's built to play football and built for these types of circumstances. When you threw on the tape of Jer at Penn State, it's really easy to see how talented he is. What you don't know is who he is as a person, what he's made up of. And we've gotten enough to be able to see that. And you mix the talent and you mix his personal, like his personality into it, and you got a really good football player right there. You can see it. You see the glimpses of Jer Brown against the Bucks, where he had the big time fourth down pass deflection on Mike Evans in one-on-one coverage. Then you see him get the interception. You see him get a pass breakup versus Cade Otton when they throw Baker threw a strike over the middle to their tight end that could have been a touchdown, and he broke that up. You see him close his closing speed when it comes to closing in on tackles. He's got game speed. He's got the confidence. He has the ability, and he is really, really, really good. Roger Craig dropping a nice nugget saying Jer Brown had 16 takeaways during his tenure at Penn State. When Jer Brown was at his locker talking about his first career interception in the NFL, I loved what he said when they asked him about the interception. He literally shrugged off the interception. He's like, I'm used to getting interceptions, like, and just was talking about like how he got the wind knocked out of him, all that stuff. And I was like, you just shrugged off your first career interception on the basis of I'm used to getting interceptions. This isn't new to me. I get and Roger Craig in the chat brings up that excellent point. 16 takeaways at Penn State is exactly why he shrugged off his first career interception, because it's not new to him. He's used to turning over the football. It's one of the reasons why he was a draft crush of mine personally. He was a guy that I mocked in my mock drafts consistently. And it was a guy that I wanted the 49ers to target. And they felt the same way. And they went and got him. And we're already seeing the impact. And he is going to have to make a huge impact moving forward. Niner One says, all I know is I'm pumped for tomorrow's game. And that's where the path to potentially the first seed begins. Starts tomorrow against the Seattle Seahawks and going up. I was in Seattle last year when the 49ers clinched the NFC West. And I can speak to that environment. That environment, I will say, they were only loud for about the first quarter because the 49ers did a good job of keeping them quiet for the majority of the game. And that's honestly a huge key for tomorrow when it comes to, like crowd noise and all those different types of things. I've seen it and I've experienced it firsthand. If the 49ers want to take the fans out of it, they got to take the Seahawks out of it early. They got to make some big time plays, score some points quickly, and get that crowd out of it. Because if you're like me, you remember Turkey on the 50 in Levi's Stadium. That's all I got to say. You remember that. And what the 49ers are looking to do tomorrow on Thanksgiving is pay it back to the Seattle Seahawks. I hope that when we are closing down the game tomorrow night, that we see wonderful images of the San Francisco 49ers taking big bites out of a turkey leg right on the middle of their logo. I don't know if they'll do that again like they did for the 49ers. But we'll see. We will see. I hope all of you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving with your families. Enjoy it. Um, enjoy the turkey coma that comes with it, and hopefully you guys can stay awake for a 5:20 p.m. Pacific Standard Time kickoff with a huge game that helps put us on our track to get the first seed. That's the whole goal. Ezra, I shouted you out already, but I'll shout you out again. My name's Brad. I am the owner of the TheSFNiners across all platforms. You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, you name it. I'm probably on there. So I appreciate you guys hanging with me and vibing with me on Bleacher Report. The vibes were immaculate in the chat. And hopefully, I look forward to talking with you guys about a win tomorrow, because I will be hosting the post-game show here on Bleacher Report after the game against the Seattle Seahawks. I'll actually be joined by a Seattle content creator. So we'll be talking about the game after it concludes. So I will be seeing you guys tomorrow, and we'll be having fun breaking it down, hopefully talking about a 49ers victory. So thanks again for tapping in. Jaden, my Instagram is TheSFNiners. You can find me on there. And again, I appreciate all the vibes in the chat. Appreciate the input and the back and forth. You guys are the best. And path to the 1 seed starts tomorrow. Appreciate you guys. I'm out of here for now. I'll see you tomorrow after the game. Peace.